Hi Chem Gang, happy Friday. It's January the 11th and Lori here. In this video, I just wanted to wrap up the welcome unit as it is due today and take a look at Unit 1 as many of you will be starting Unit 1 this weekend. And hopefully you do get an early start on Unit 1 because there is a lot of information to cover. For those of you that have enrolled later and you're just getting into Brightspace now, please feel free to take the weekend to finish up the welcome unit. Please reach out if you have questions. You can text my cell phone or send me an email or call me on the phone, whatever you need in order to get settled in the course and get up to speed. So here we are in Brightspace. I'm going to go to the welcome unit through content. And then if the welcome unit didn't come up, I would just click on welcome unit here. And as you know, as you work through the welcome unit, you will get check marks to say that you have completed each part. The main things that I would like you to complete in the welcome unit is this welcome unit checklist. When you click on it, you will see instructions for setting up and working with Brightspace, getting access to your mastering chemistry, which is super important when we go into Unit 1 because that's where your homework is and your tests. Setting up the e-textbook so that you are able to read the textbook, and also if you want to purchase a printed copy, information is there as well. Setting up your college webmail and Microsoft Office 365 if you need a Word program. In Unit 1 there is a lab report that you need to type up, so if you don't have Word on your computer, don't worry, you have access for free through the college, and it's Microsoft Office 365. Next week I'll be doing a Skype drop-in where you can come into Skype. I'll be there and I can answer any questions that you might have and show you my screen and that sort of a thing. These Skype meetings are always voluntary, and as we get into the course they will be on an individual basis. You'll see that we have lots of videos in the course, so our need to get together as an entire class is really not needed anymore, but the option is here. If you're getting stuck on something and you need to meet with me, we can meet through Skype. And then lastly is if you want to set up your email on your mobile device. So that's the checklist, and that is really, really important that you work through the checklist and get that completed before you move on to unit number 1. Also, emphasis on the welcome and introductions. If you haven't posted your introduction yet in the welcome unit, please do that so we can get to know you and say hello. So basically the checklist in the welcome unit and posting to this welcome and introductions discussion are the two main things to complete in the welcome unit. And just so you know, there's been questions about when do we write proctored tests and when do we do take-it-home tests. This is in the schedule in the welcome unit, and you can see that we have a proctored test for Unit 2 to be completed by February the 22nd, a proctored test for Unit 4, and a proctored test for Unit 5. So for Unit 1, that starts this weekend, your test is going to be a take-it-home test. So when we get closer to the proctored test, our first proctored test in Unit 2, I'll give you more information about how you set up the proctored tests. Okay, so that's the welcome unit. I'm going to move on to Unit 1. So I'm going to go back to my table of contents, and I'm going to click on my Unit 1 Intro to Chemistry. All the units are set up pretty much the same. The first start is going to let you know what chapters that the unit covers and the outcomes. You don't need to submit answers for these outcomes. That's just there for you to know what we're going to be looking at in the unit. So for Unit 1, we're covering chapters 1 and 3. You won't be asked questions on Chapter 2, that's more of a refresher in terms of math skills. But feel free if you want to go through Chapter 2, just know that on your take-at-home test, we won't be asking questions from Chapter 2. That's why it's super important that you have access to your e-text. So the e-text is accessible through your Mastering Student links. So when you click on your Mastering Student links, you're going to go to your Mastering links, and you have two options. You have the Vital Source, which is a downloadable copy of your text, and you have your Pearson eText, which is only accessible when you're on the internet. Pearson eText might be a little bit slow if your internet connection is slow. If that's the case, you will want to download the Bookshelf app for your device and access and download your chemistry book through that. If you click on this, you will go to a copy of your textbook, but that you can access here. However, this isn't the app. I recommend that you download the app. Mine is right here, and when I click on that, it's the Bookshelf app. I've already downloaded the textbooks that I'm using, and I can access this even when I am not on the internet. So if you're planning to use a Vital Source, please download the Bookshelf app, and instructions on how to do that are in the Welcome Unit checklist. Now the Pearson e-textbook is again under Mastering Student links, and when you click on it, here it is, Pearson e-textbook. It will take a little bit to come up, so you have to just wait. The screen will stay blank until it downloads. Again, it will be a function of how fast your internet is to do this. And I recommend that you click on this View Content in a New Window, as the e-textbook seems to work better outside of Brightspace in its own window. And you can see that you can click on the contents, and then there's also these great study tools too for each of the units. So for the chemical world, you can go in and do flashcards, you can do some practice matching stuff. That's also part of the Pearson e-textbook. So that's the two ways that you can access your e-textbook. If you have any questions, please do post to the Q&A. So I'm going to go back to Unit 1. Here we go. We've talked about what textbook chapters to cover. We've talked about how to access your e-textbook either via the Vital Source Bookshelf app or the Pearson e-textbook. Then what you're going to do is start working through each of these modules. When you click on Learning Activities, that's going to bring you to an overview of the unit and what you are going to be learning and what assignments you need to cover. There is a kitchen lab in which you are going to separate sand and salt. And if you click on the lab instructions here, it's going to give you the full instructions about the lab. It's also going to give you an information sheet and a lab report example. It's going to show you how to do APA formatting. And then there's an instructional video about formatting formal lab reports. So you want to take a look at each of these. And then here is the marking scheme that I'll be using when I mark your lab. So when you finally create your lab report as a Word document, you will want to go through each of these to make sure that your lab report includes these criteria. So that's the instructions for the lab. It's done in your kitchen just with common household items. You do not need a digital scale. You just need to have measuring cups and measuring spoons and stuff that's found in your kitchen, so you don't need to worry about that. I think the biggest challenge that students have is finding sand for the lab. It is winter, so you can use the sand that you might spread in your driveway to keep the ice at bay. You can go to the beach and grab sand there. You can go to the dollar store or Michael's and get some decorative sand. You can go into your neighbor's sandbox and get sand that way as well. So it doesn't matter where you source your sand. Feel free to look around your community and see if you can find some sand. You only need a little bit. You only need, at most a few tablespoons of sand, so don't feel like you need to get a lot of it. Once you have completed your lab report, you're going to submit it through the assignment folder here. You're going to click on the title and then use the submit button to post it to the assignment folder. Please submit as a Word document, not a PDF, and not an image. So it needs to be in a Word file so that I can edit it and add my marking scheme. We have a homework assignment, which is following the textbook. It's in Mastering Chemistry. So when you click on this link, you'll be taken to the Mastering Chemistry homework assignment. This is for marks, and it's an ongoing assignment, which means that you can open it up, you can work on a few questions, then you can get out of it and on another day, open it up again and continue where you left off. One word of caution, do not save your answer. There's an option to save your answer after you do a question. Do not save your answer unless you are sure you want to submit that answer, because once you've saved the answer, you can't go back and change it. So if you're not sure on an answer and you want to come back later, just leave it blank, make a note of it, leave it blank, and then come back to it later. There is also an option to print off the assignment. So if you want, you can print off the assignment and all your questions, answer them, and then when you're finished and ready to go, you can then go into this assignment and click on your answers and then go from there. So that might be a good option for those of you that like to work on paper rather than on the computer, to print it off and then go in when you're done and submit your answers. When you've done this assignment, it creates an adaptive follow-up assignment to practice your weak areas. This adaptive follow-up assignment is not for marks and is just voluntary for added practice. So feel free to use that if you wish. And also, we have included a for practice assignment which has these great tutorials on how to work through some of the problems, and you can go into that at any time and work through some of the tutorials that you're having trouble with. You don't have to do any of it, you don't have to do all of it, you can just pick and choose. And again, this is not for marks. So the only thing for marks is this homework assignment. Right off the bat, it's great to print off this test study guide. When I click on the test study guide, it gives the what outcomes we are going to be covering. And if you print this out and have it next to you when you're reading through your textbook, you can highlight the parts that focus in on this, and this will just help to focus your study when it comes to your unit test. So have this close when you're reading through your textbook. It's a great way to just emphasize what the important material that you need to know will be for your test. Every unit has this test study guide, so it's a great resource just to print off right from the beginning. I'm going to talk about the take-home test in a moment, but as you can see, there is another Q&A discussion. Every unit has a Q&A discussion. This is where you're going to go and post your questions that you have about the material that we're covering, and myself and your classmates will answer. I love to use video, so if you can be specific about your question, I'm happy to do a video explaining the answer. So the more we do here, the more questions we ask in the Q&A, the better it is for everyone. So let me go back up to the Take It Home test. Here is our Take It Home test module for Unit 1. When you are ready to do the test, you click on this link here and it will take you to the Mastering Chemistry test. Do not click on this though until you're ready to actually do the test, as you only have one attempt to complete the test, and the test is timed at 120 minutes. So once you have it opened, you will have to you have to be ready to finish it. If you do open it by mistake, let me know. Get out of it immediately. Let me know, and I can reset it so that you can get in there. But you need to get out of it immediately, because if you go in and then you stay in for a half an hour, I consider that starting the test. So please don't do that. As I said, the test is 120 minutes, 2 hours, but most students only take an hour to complete it, and then the rest of the time is for review if you need it. You will need a calculator, and you will need to print off the following scrap paper. So I'm going to just click on that. There's scrap paper that's given for each test, and the scrap paper will include formulas that you will use on the test so that you don't have to flip through your textbook when you're at home. When you go to a proctor test, you're not allowed to use your textbook, so the formulas will be super helpful, so you don't have to memorize those. And then there is space to answer your questions. When you are done your test, your take-it-home test, you can take a picture of your scrap paper or scan it if you have a printer that scans, and send me a copy via email if you would like me to go over any of your questions. If you are happy with your answers and don't want me to review, then don't feel that you have to send that the scrap paper. It's only if you want me to review a question that you would send me your scrap paper. Now, when you do a proctor test on campus, the proctors will want you to submit your scrap paper, and they will send me a scanned copy of your questions, so you don't have to worry about that in a proctor test. But in a take-it-home test, that's something that you'll have to do for yourself. Also included is a periodic table study sheet. You do have a periodic table in your textbook, but when you do the proctor test, you won't have that, so I've included that here in case you need it, and you can print that off for your test, and when you go to the proctor test. And then when you are doing the questions, there will be a tab for you to click on for a periodic table and for a constants list, and the constants that are provided are these ones right here. Okay? So if you have any questions at all about the take-it-home test or what you're allowed to use and what you have access to, just let me know via the Q&A, because I'm sure if you have the question, your classmates will also have the same question as well. So that's Unit 1 in a nutshell. Good luck as you start. Chapters 1 and 3 all have review questions at the end of the chapters, which are great to work on before you do your Mastering Chemistry homework. So good luck, everyone. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great weekend. Bye for now.